Wow.
Oh yeah.
How many times you cut yourself doing that?
We're back at the Perkins workshop today, and we're gonna be talking about woodworking tools which have to be sharp. If you're using a woodworking tool and it's not sharp and it's supposed to be, I would say just go home. So today we're gonna look at 3 levels of sharpness for things you're gonna do woodworking with, and how you can achieve those levels of sharpness and how much each of those would cost you.
To start off with, I want to bust a myth that I hear all the time, and this is it, that chisels or hand planes or any other cutting tool is as sharp as it could ever be when you buy it new, and everything is downhill from there because it will never be as good as when it was brand new. Actually, chisels or hand planes, even some other cutting tools,
Knives.
like, yeah, pocket knives, they're not as sharp as they could be right out of the box. I don't know.
I would call those a level 1 sharp as you purchase them. We're gonna go level 1, 2, 3 in this video.
Yeah, we're gonna make you aware of what our 3 levels, how we define these 3 levels of sharpness. And I will say, if you buy a very expensive tool, we're talking like maybe a Lee Nielsen hand plane, or maybe you're gonna buy an expensive dovetail saw. Those things are gonna be factory sharp to a level that is ready to use, and that you might even have a difficult time reproducing that level of sharpness on your own.
So I would think that if I went to Ace and bought a chisel, that it would be sharp. No?
You'd be partly right, partly wrong.
Well, that's
How
crap.
about we don't have one to try?
What if you don't know how to sharpen a chisel or you don't have a Jamie?
We're about to show you, just hang on.
Oh, you're going to show me how to sharpen? Yeah, I don't have any tools to sharpen it, though. I'm going to run on some rocks in my driveway.
So how do you tell if the tools you have are sharp? That's a good question, because you don't know to sharpen them unless you know whether they're sharp or not. And then once you sharpen them, you still don't know whether they're sharp or not unless you have a way to test it. So one test is just try using the tool. Does it work well? Does it cut easily? Are you having to use a ton of force or not? And another way is simply using your fingernail, doing a tack test. Now be careful doing this, but if you place the blade at a shallow angle with just a little force into your thumbnail and it sticks, your blade is very sharp. If you put one onto your fingernail and it just slips like this chisel is doing that's dull, see how it's just sliding? This is dull. Another way is you can look down the edge of your tool. And if you see any shininess right on the edge, it's dull, because that means there's light reflecting off of some sort of flattened section on that. So for instance, that's dull. You can see shiny on it. I don't know if you can see it on the camera or not.
We're gonna look straight at the edge
Okay.
here. And it's blurry, but I still see it, even though it's not focused.
If your tool or your knife is sharp, you should not be able to see the edge. It should just kind of be not there if you're staring.
It's almost like a trick. You can't find it.
So those are 2 ways. You know, you see a lot of people just feeling their blade like this. And I've had experiences where a not so sharp blade kind of felt sharp just doing that. Again, be safe, don't cut yourself. But those are some easy ways that you can check the sharpness of your tool without any real equipment. Now we're gonna nerd out a little bit on this. I think in a real knife shop, if they wanna test the durability and the sharpness of a blade, what they do is use a weighted test on some sort of special paper that has some sort of abrasiveness to it to see how many pieces it will cut through and how long of a cut it will make without getting dull. You can check me on that if anybody knows in the comments. So that would be the very objective way to do it. We're doing a very subjective way, but you can still get a really good feel for what it is just with your fingernail.
One more thing here, using a dull tool, especially like a chisel, where you're gonna be pushing it with your hands, sorry. I've always been taught that it's more dangerous to use a dull tool because you'll be using excessive force to do the work that should be easy. Now, just because it won't cut wood easily doesn't mean that if you slip, that it won't still cut your hand really easily, or any part of you that it comes in contact with. It takes more effort, and it is very frustrating to use a tool that is not sharp, and your project quality may suffer as well. So I can think of lots of reasons why having a sharp tool is beneficial. Our test subject today is going to be this DeWalt chisel that has been destroyed on the edge, really reamed out. Remind me, Ray, to not let you borrow my chisels if this is what yours looks like. I can see that this chisel has not been sharpened before because it still has the factory grind marks on it. So the first thing we're gonna do is attempt to bring this back to what I would consider a factory sharpness, meaning it's okay, but not really that sharp. So that'll be our first step. And we're gonna be doing that with some standard tools that almost every carpenter is gonna have already. Our first method is going to be using an angle grinder or a belt sander. Now these are going to produce the most crude results, and a lot of it relies on your skill and steadiness and your eyeball to see the angle. I'm gonna call these also inaccurate ways because you're not measuring angles or anything like that. You're just trying to match existing angles. So let's get started with this. Using the grinder, my goal is going to be to match the existing angle, use light pressure, go back and forth until I see all the dings or nicks go away on the edge of the blade. I am going to make an attempt not to make it too hot. As many people already know, getting this tool overheated to where the edge turns blue or black will take the temper out of the steel and therefore make it softer so that it will need to be sharpened more often. So you want to keep the steel cool and it'll keep that hardness that is tempered into the tool. With a chisel that is this bad, it's gonna take quite a long time to grind all those dings out, and it's very tempting to go ahead and change the angle so you can grind more off the part that's bad, and that's kind of a bad thing because there is a factory angle that's gonna be the most ideal cutting angle for this tool. It's kind of like sharpening lawnmower blades, and that's what this is most like. You wanna maintain that factory angle, so you're just gonna have to be patient, and a good idea is to actually dip the chisel in a cup of cold water. And that's gonna keep it cool. So you would want to grind maybe 10, 15 seconds, dip it in cold water for 5 or 10 seconds, and then continue that process. And it can be, I don't know, it can take a long time. So be prepared to be patient.
Why don't you just grind the bottom part to get the nicks out?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great question. You know, when your buddies ask you to sharpen a chisel and they hand it to you and you look at the back and you realize that they've been filing the back, that just means that you have to grind so much more metal off to get to where that part that they messed up is gone. All right. Now, okay, it is okay to do the back, but what you must do is do it absolutely flat with
The entire
surface, the surface of the back, but never actually putting an angle on the back towards the front.
That'll pretty much ruin the chisel.
Well, then you're making like a knife that is like two edges like a knife, right?
A chisel is only
One plane coming into a flat.
Yeah, that might actually be the definition of a chisel. I don't know. I'll have to look that up. We don't have time to continue grinding on this one, so we're going to show you the next tool here, the belt sander. This is our dad's favorite way to sharpen a chisel, and I'm going to say maybe the only way that he ever sharpened a chisel after being a carpenter for 30 years. Again, let me remind you, heat is the enemy, and the belt sander can really produce a lot of heat on this chisel. So the water here is absolutely necessary if you're gonna do this for more than like 5 or 10 seconds.
I would say the one downfall I see of that is that you can't see the angle that you're grinding on.
Well, the bright side is it really doesn't matter that this one is really crooked because it's your chisel. There you go.
But you're right, you can't really tell.
Look how crooked it is. And I was actually trying to keep it straight.
Yep.
It's curved and crooked.
But it's sharp.
It's pretty sharp.
It is way better than it was. So that's your level 1. Sharp as it was when you bought it, just more crooked.
No tack yet. This innocent looking tool right here can eat you up if you get too close to it. This very belt sander actually got hung up in my shirt one time.
I remember that.
And I might have a picture of that. You know, I don't know what the safest way to use this. Do you take your shirt off? I don't know, but it got me good.
Yeah, so do not wear loose articles of clothing when you're standing right next to a belt sander upside down like this.
Yeah.
It can catch your clothing, and in Jamie's case, it ripped his clothing right off of him.
I gotta find that picture, holy cow.
Not bad.
Not bad at all.
We're gonna finish up a raised chisel with method 2, which is going to be a standard bench grinder and a little honing stone. They're super cheap, like $5. So this is also a very inexpensive method, and almost everybody and their dad has a bench grinder and some kind of sharpening stone.
Bench grinders in the other shop.
Yeah.
Come on, light guy.
Oh, sorry, I'm coming. You didn't teach him nothing.
This video is brought to you by Fish, F-Y money symbol H, which is an app that's the easiest all-in-one app for scheduling, invoicing, and payments for your side hustle. Not only is it great for you, the side hustler, but it's great for your clients as well because it makes the whole process, including the payment transaction, easy and streamlined, and clients will come back when they realize that that's the case. Nowadays, it seems like just about everyone has a side hustle of some sort, whether it's house cleaning for friends and family, baking for the holidays, photo shoots, handyman jobs, dog walking, personal training, you name it. And I just want to say props to all you guys out there that are side hustlers. If you didn't know, Jamie and myself have arguably been more successful at our side hustles than our main job. My brother has rental properties, he's run a successful live sound business, and I do YouTube, and that was my side hustle, and now it's pretty much become my main job, so keep it up. So no matter what your side hustle is, Fish is the app for it. And Fish is committed to supporting a thriving side hustle economy by providing the side hustlers with the tools needed to build and grow a personal business. A few of the great tools in the app are that you can add your services to Fish so people know what you do. You can chat with clients, you can create appointments, you can check in and check out of the job, and you can send and receive invoices and payments. My favorite part of the app is simply being able to invoice people easily. If you've ever done an odd job for someone and then tried to get paid, most people don't carry cash or even know what a check is anymore. It's also the cheapest app for side hustlers to use with their clients. Other apps take an average of 20% of what you would make. Fish only costs $1 per cent invoice, and your client pays the usual processing fee. So check this out. Anyone who downloads the Fish app through the link in our description or the QR code here on the screen and gets a payment through one of their invoices before January 31st will get invited to a special town hall event that I will be at. Thanks again to Fish for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to work.
Method number 1 only used one tool. Now method 2 is getting a little more complex. We're gonna use the grinder to take away the bulk of the material, and then we're gonna use a cheap honing stone here just to refine the edge a little bit. One huge advantage of using the bench grinder is that it usually has a tool rest right here, which can be adjusted to whatever angle you wish, and it will hold the tool at a repeatable angle, so you can just set it and always use the same grinder. With this process, it is also important to use water to keep the chisel cool and prevent overheating and taking the temper away.
Whatever you say, Mr. Fantastic.
That's what I tell myself every morning.
What's the reason for moving back and forth like you're doing?
Well, that is to prevent it from getting hot.
Okay.
That really does help keep it cool. And I never stop the chisel in one place on the grinder. I'm always gonna be moving. Now, for those of you that wanna do the best job you can getting your angle, what I do is I put my finger on the chisel and sort of use that as a stop, as a reference. So when I'm grinding, I take it off and I dip it in the water. I put it right back. My finger and the location of the chisel on this grinding wheel is exactly the same.
That's a good tip.
Each time, so you can have good repeatability and not run higher up on the wheel or down lower. That can really help. I have all the metal removed that I need to get it to a pretty sharp edge now, so I'm going to stop on this one. But just to show you what you should not do, I'm going to take my good old friend, the Project Source chisel, and we're going to burn it up just to show you what happens if you hold it still.
Okay, I see that it's blue and black.
Yep.
And smoking a little bit.
Yep.
It's pretty hot.
So you didn't move it side to side, and now that chisel's shot.
Toasty.
Yeah, so it's lost its temper. It'll never really be that good again.
Never.
Wait, that's my chisel?
You're toast. Here you go, Ray.
We should call that thing the Jono.
Loses his temper. Just kidding, Jono.
We love you, Bubba. Seriously, does he watch the video?
I hope not,
Does
for
he
your
watch-
sake. You're gonna get knocked out.
Dude, they told me to say it. They held a chisel to my neck and said, say this.
To finish up method number 2 and refine the edge a little bit, we're going to use a cheap honing stone here. It has a coarse side and a fine side, so you actually could get a pretty good result if you used a little bit of oil. I'm just going to do it dry to show you what it does, and I'm going to start by rubbing the back flat putting pressure down on the chisel and just sliding it back and forth to rake all the burrs off of the back. You can see there I'm beginning to make contact, and as you keep going, all of that edge should be completely polished looking. After doing the back of the chisel, we're going to turn our attention to the front side or the bevel side and see if we can rub it on the stone until all of these grinding marks disappear, at least right at the cutting edge. Jason said that he would probably do it this way instead of sideways, and I told him the reason I'm doing it like this is because I can more easily maintain my angle as I'm moving the chisel back and forth. It'd be harder if I did it this way. I might go up and down continuously and variably, making it kind of rounded in this direction, which I don't want. Now, a benefit of using a grinder is that it does make a hollow grind. Now, this one is not so much hollow ground, but in essence, it'll be lower in the center. It'll be concave shape so that when you do have to sharpen it on a stone by hand, it should contact out here at the tip and at the back or the heel of the knife, making it to where you're taking less material off as you're doing it by hand.
Making it easier.
It should make it easier. Make it easier. And we might do a little micro bevel here. Have you heard of that? Mm-hmm. It's just a tiny little additional bevel at a steeper angle right at the end. And I'm gonna do it just because I'm tired of working on this thing and I wanna get my sharpness to the edge a little quicker. So I'm gonna find my fundamental bevel there, and then I'm gonna tip it up just slightly. And then we're gonna really concentrate our sharpening right at the cutting edge. And we're not taking a lot of material away, so it should go pretty quickly. And then we should get sharpness all the way connecting to that back edge. And you can see the micro bevel there. And there's a giant burr on the back. I can feel it. It's like catchy there. So again, I would switch to the back, kind of hit the burr a little bit with the flat, and go back and forth a few times and see if that burr will come off. Now, it didn't come off all the way. I'll show you a little trick if you want to get the burr off. Let's go to the end of the sawhorse here. And we're just gonna run it up the end grain of a piece of wood, like that, run it up and down, because the little burrs will get raked off, but it won't affect the sharpness of the chisel.
That really worked well.
So that's pretty good. I mean, hey, if you showed up on a job site with this, you'd be in good shape.
So that concludes the level 2 sharpness on the DeWalt that was destroyed. As Jamie said, let's see if it's got some tack to it.
I'm just gonna test it the way I test. It's peeling a little, but it doesn't have tack yet. Ooh, one little tack.
One tack. All right, let's go for level 3.
Okay. I don't know where this falls in the scale of 1 to 3 of our sharpness levels, but I'd be a fool not to mention this amazing little angle guide tool here for sharpening chisels. And you simply clamp it in right there, and it's got some little indents that kind of help register it, and some things fit better than others, but in essence you can establish a specific angle, and then you can use sandpaper. I like to use wet dry sandpaper, and you just move it back and forth. Now I would actually put water on this paper and do this for about 3 hours, and eventually it'd be sharp. I've had this one ever since I got married. For 16 years this one I have used, and I used to sit in the floor in the living room, and I had a little cut off piece of a granite countertop, and I had my wet sanding paper, and I would sit there and sharpen my chisels while I was watching TV. So, hey, it works.
We better get him out some more. My gosh. And you still married?
Yeah.
Wow.
As promised, we're gonna take the DeWalt up to level 3. We're gonna be using my Tormek T7 today. This is a dedicated slow RPM, 90 to be exact. It is a water-cooled stone so that your tool never gets hot and you don't have to dip it into a cup because the wheel's continuously running in water. In addition to that, it has a leather honing strop on the side, and you use a special little additive that adds some abrasiveness and is going to polish the edge to a mirror finish. And if the back surface and the bevel surface are both polished to a mirror finish and they meet together in a place that you can't even see it, that means it's razor sharp, and the tack test will prove it.
And you could shave yourself with it.
You could.
And how much does this cost?
This one was about $800, and that was 10 years ago or more.
So
they
it's
came
probably
out with a
$2,000 now.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe $1,000. This is a great machine though, and it has all kinds of accessories. You can sharpen almost anything with this machine, not just your chisels. Now that I have the chisel in the tool holder here, we're gonna put it on the bar, the guide bar, I guess, and we're going to adjust the angle so that the bevel is is close to what it is now when we're done. If you notice that I was smiling while I was doing this, it's because I'm happy. One reason I'm happy is that doing it with this is quiet.
It is quiet.
It's quiet.
That isn't
There's
good.
no sparks and fire and, overheating and, all that stuff. The only downside is that this is kind of slow. If your chisel is really bad, I might still use some of the other methods in combination with this, like the belt sander or the grinder, just to hog away a lot of material quickly and then get onto this stone, because otherwise you could be standing here for 30 minutes trying to grind down 1/8 of an inch of chisel. We're done with the stone on the Tormek. Now we're gonna switch to a coarse honing stone with some honing solution, and then a fine honing stone with the solution. This helps to keep the stone cleared of the metal that you're actually wearing off of the chisel so that it doesn't get plugged up and it will continue to cut. You can see more clearly now that we're only touching here at the front edge, and the back and this part in the middle that is hollow ground will not get touched by the stone, and it's material that we're not having to remove by hand. Most people will be happy to stop right there, and that is very sharp, and it might even pass. Oh, it does. It has tack, but it could use more. So let's get on to the strop. We'll get this thing finished out. All right, so what is the strop doing? Besides making it polished and pretty looking, that is nice, but it can remove a burr from the edge that sometimes can be left by one of your stones that you just can't seem to get off. Whether you flip the chisel and do it one way and then do it the other way, you can repeat this over and over, and that little piece of metal that just won't go away is stuck on your very sharp edge. And so this actually will kind of wear it off and rake it off of there and polish and make the rest of it very sharp.
It's a shame he's going through all this work and Ray's just gonna ding the crap out of it the first time he uses it.
It'll probably be Eric who borrowed it the first time.
We're done now, so how sharp is it?
Let's just do the tack test to find out. All right, it has absolute tack, so that's good. And also I'll put it in and slide it. And if there are any little bumps or catches, I know that there's a defect. This one is defect free. It is absolutely gliding very smoothly. Tack.
So I cannot see an edge. That passes test number 2.
Get a little squirrely going in here. Cutting along with the grain is pretty easy in softwood, but this is maple, and the true test, I would say, is cutting across end grain, which is much more difficult. But you can see here, it's almost effortless. And look at the finish. It's almost perfectly smooth under there.
Like you sanded it.
Yeah, no sanding
Holy
needed.
crap.
It's perfectly smooth.
That's fun.
So that is the difference in, we should try it with the other chisels maybe, to see what the other levels would do.
That's a level,
level
1.
one.
That's a level 1 right there. Yep. Not the same.
Now you got it.
And we didn't.
I mean, it looks the same as that, dude. I don't know what's different.
We didn't keep a level 2, and the level 0 definitely not a chance right there.
No.
That's the difference right there. If you want to know the difference, that's it.
That's where the tack comes in, like that chisel can't even get started.
Yeah.
Right? And it's all about that tack. Let me clean that up for you there, right there, just a little bit. It's just kind of bothering me. Let me just sort of shave it, Let me just go on and get it down. There we go.
Wow.
Yeah!
I feel like you could have ate the whole board.
Okay, so you can see the difference. I think that stands on its own there for making the point. Here you go.
Thanks, man.
Appreciate it.
I can finally shave my beard.
That wraps up our video on the 3 levels of sharpness you can get with your wood cutting tools and how to achieve those levels of sharpness, and most importantly, why you would want that level of sharpness. We just showed you right there. Thanks for building with us, and we'll see you next time.